get this up here.
And we are live.
That is excellent. We are live again over on the Dead Hedgehogs studio. Thank you very much for tuning in. Of course, tonight I am joined by Chris the Sledgehammer Gavigan and a very special guest, Michelle Smith, who is a hopeful MEP candidate for the upcoming elections on June the 7th.
Yeah, thanks
Michelle,
for having me.
thank you very much for coming along with us. So how has things been?
Yeah, a bit crazy now in the last
I
month.
bet.
A bit crazy, but I'm doing it. It's a big area to cover.
It is a huge area. What area exactly is it?
So I have from Monaghan right down to Kildare, right over Portlaoise, Offaly, Galway, and back up again to the height of Donegal, and everything in between.
How many will I call them constituencies? Constituencies?
Constituents.
Counties, I suppose.
Yeah, no, but in Ireland, it's broken up into...
It's broken up into Dublin,
Yeah,
South, and Midlands Northwest. So Midlands Northwest has the biggest, I suppose, catchment area for
Yeah.
boats and trying to get around.
but probably the population's even out.
Yeah.
Of course, yeah.
So, this would be more rural Ireland than Dublin, which, totally different, I suppose, fights and battles that you want to have as well.
Of course, it'll be different arguments.
Yeah, different arguments.
Yeah, like I think, is there 1.5 million people in the whole
Midlands
Northwest constituency?
1.38 million. Yeah,
That's
which is a lot.
That's amazing.
That's
It's
huge.
huge. Like,
Huge area.
and for 5 people to cover, like as whoever's going to elect is 5 MEPs are going to be elected out of that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Now there was 4, but Laois and Offaly were added to it in November last year. So
Okay.
they gave an extra seat, which is it's grand. I'm doing it though.
Tell me, what power does an MEP have in Europe? When you get to Europe, what can you do? What can you do for Ireland?
Hopefully work with the other 13 other MEPs that are going to get elected. So as an MEP, your job is to add to legislation, to change legislation, and in our instance, you need a 2/3 majority vote
Do
in
you want
the
to
European
just
Parliament.
move that a little bit
Sorry.
closer to you? Yeah.
You need a 2/3 majority vote to get anything passed. So
Okay.
it's vitally important that anybody that does get elected works together as well. And, there's different parties in Europe. The EPP would be the biggest one. Then you'd be more to the left and you'd be Reform. And, it's very important that you align with the correct people out there if you want things done,
But not just from Ireland.
not just from Ireland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have to make links,
You do.
basically.
You do.
So who would you be aligning with if you make it to
It's
Europe?
a good question. It's a good question. There is the ECR group, and they would be more in the line of my
So
thinking.
they're the European Conservatives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They would recognise countries with sovereignty, but they'd also try and get back a bit more power as well.
Yeah.
But the EPP is so big, they're meant to be so straight down the middle, but any Irish MEPs that have joined them, there has been no argument for Ireland. So you don't really get anywhere. So it's very important when you go over there to try and be a strong voice to say, hold on a minute, what's happening here is wrong. We have to stop comparing Ireland to the rest of the European Union. And, you need to find like-minded people. So I haven't thoroughly made that decision yet because I'm really level-headed and I'm a businesswoman. So I'll think about it through and through. And the main thing is get the foot in the door first and then make sure that you make the correct decision. A lot of them have already put it down on ballot papers who they're going to join. And there's probably going to be a few more groups that will have, come together in the European Parliament. So I think this time around it's a totally different election than it was in 2019.
What would make that? What issue makes that a different?
I think now the lack of leadership that we've seen in Irish MEPs out there.
Yeah.
Our farming industry is folding. Our fishing industry is folding. Our tourism industry is folding. We're ranking in like 212th out of 232 of all regions in Europe that are so far behind in infrastructure, which is, it's not only embarrassing for the current sitting MEPs that haven't brought this to light, but for us here, we have so many young people. There's the technological universities now from Letterkenny down to Letterfrack into Galway, Castlebar, and they've no train lines, they've no housing. There's funding
which
there.
is crazy when you think of the money that was in this country not so long ago. How the infrastructure is still not up to scratch.
Like there's a line there from, I was in the the meeting in the Radisson in Sligo about rejuvenating the entire northwest railways especially, and it would cost 414 million to do 79 kilometres, which if you compare it to 1 kilometre of the new metro in Dublin, it would cost the same for 1 kilometre, where you could link Colooney to Claremorris for the same price.
Yeah,
the railways are already there.
Part of me is like, obviously they've made a big push for turning these old railways into greenways, and which is great.
They're even trying to turn the local one here into a greenway.
They are, yeah.
So they're pushing for that at the moment, but part of me is like, wouldn't we be much better serviced with a really good train system in Ireland?
And that's where you're lacking common sense. You know, if you put more railways on the lines, the railways are already there. They
if you look there, I remember seeing a graphic before of the amount of rail lines littered across the country back in the early 1900s compared to now.
Yeah.
It's shocking what like now upkeep and safety and all that type of stuff is totally different.
Yeah.
But if we turn all of them into greenways, which they're great.
Which is
greenways are amazing.
They're amazing.
But like, should they not be alongside a train line or something like that? You know?
Yeah, no, it doesn't make sense. Like, they're already there.
It shows me that they've no intention of putting any infrastructure into the west or the Midlands.
They need it. There's a lot of students that are, you know, in these universities as well that would have special needs or disabled, and it would suit them better. And one wee girl stood up, well, she sat down, but if you know what I mean, with her voice, and she said, this really affects me because it's taken away my ability to get to and from my college independently.
Of course.
The railways are already there. You know, my granddad was a rail master down in Thurles, and his dad before that. So you can go back to 1908. They're there. It wouldn't take very much to get them up and going. The money's there, but the funding is there at the EU. But if you take the other big countries compared to Ireland, we are right down at the 2 and 3% of funding. And then funding was given over to the Irish government, but it wasn't passed on. So there's a lot of people
this is another thing. I mean, this is a perfect example of what I think is wasted money. There is a road between Castlebar and Charlestown, we'll say, and the road was perfect. It was probably the best road in County Mayo, or definitely one of them. And they've resurfaced it, I don't know, many times. They're resurfacing it right now, just to use up money, instead of relocating that money into in a road or an infrastructure that actually needs the money. And I'm talking not a couple of 100,000. You're talking millions.
But we all know this, and we all buy into this, that coming up to elections, spend.
Yeah, but spend it in the right place.
Yeah,
same
but
in every town. I found 40,000 there for that footpath. Well done.
Suddenly, I've done a lot of videos on this. Suddenly, you know, all the problems in the world, and of course, I'm restricted a lot. Anything that you put up anti-political or political, or with any sort of bad language at all, is just really restricted lately. But regardless of that,
why don't we go into, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you come from, your background, what made you want to become a representative?
Because you have a business.
I do.
So pass me over the coffee.
I was born in Armagh.
Coffee.
Is coffee? Where is it?
That one. Sorry.
Never mind, Stephen.
Oh, sorry. Leave it.
Coffee here. I was born in Armagh and I moved to Mayo. I know.
You might massage my feet there, Chris. Will you?
I will. Yeah, don't bother.
I moved to Mayo when I was 15, and I had my son when I was 16. And I was the first person in Youth Reach programme to have ever sat a traditional Leaving Cert with no teachers, but 2 years of work into about 6 months, while pushing a pushchair, walking the roads, studying.
Wow.
I waited until I was 24 because I haven't lived at home from I was 17. I've always been working, and I went back and got my degree. And in my 4th year, my dad got motor neurons, so I was looking after him. Then I was diagnosed.
Back in Armagh? Or
no,
down in Mayo, okay.
Yeah.
So the family moved down?
Yeah. My mum, my dad, and myself. And sadly, he passed away in 2015, and then I got cancer. And so by the age of 30, I always knew that I wanted to go into business.
Mm-hmm.
So educating myself from no age, but working. After I had my daughter, I would have been walking, trying to sell products out of Clean Easy, because I've never ever been on the dole. And that's just me. I was always brought up as well. I had great parents. Like, my dad was brilliant, my mom's brilliant, and we always had this motto to never look up to anybody unless they're taller than you, and never look down unless you're holding them up. So I've been through so much. Even my childhood in the north made me very resilient. I grew up in a mixed area, seen things that I should have never seen as a child. And yeah, I've always been about the grafting, but I try to keep educating myself. And I done a debate there in the Galway FM, and your man said to me, "Oh, you know, you're new to politics." And I said, "Well, no, I recently studied corruption and social, political and economical, dimensions, so don't think I'm going to come in here and not know what I'm talking about." Because, yeah, I wouldn't class myself as super smart, but I just love learning. But being a viral live streamer as well with road bowling, I have this ability to talk for a very long time, kind of articulate.
Yeah.
So, but I like having the crack. And
yeah, of course. And I think that's what you need as well, is that
18,
that Irishness as well.
You do. So, yeah.
When you go, I'm sure you're canvassing.
Yes.
When you go door to door, what is the most thing that's been said at the door? What is the biggest issue at the door at the minute in Ireland?
The biggest issue would be no trust in the government. It's huge. The EU Migration Pact, whether people want to hear about it or not, it's a massive issue. The housing and the healthcare. And I have hundreds upon hundreds of messages every day. I have people that I love being evicted, and house rents have got out of control. And it all leads back to lack of control, the government completely letting people down. Like, when people come into the country, it's not their fault.
Yeah.
But what has resulted in that is a lot of divide, and I would be more down the line, level head, let's come at it at a long term and see, can we get this sorted. So, but when you see so many people,
is that why you decided that you'll run for a European seat instead of going local politics?
I wouldn't do local county council.
Yeah.
The country needs fixed, not potholes.
Yeah.
And I do say that, I would be cutthroat like
That's
that.
what you said.
Straight down the line. It is.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, there's a really important role for local politics. Yeah. Unfortunately, the way that the government of the last 15 years, they've made these quangos, or like the likes of the HSC, is inflated beyond way bigger now than it was even 10 years ago. Yeah. Or if you look at Enterprise Ireland, or if you look at a lot of these government agencies that take funding, we're spending more on these government agencies than ever before. Yeah. But that's to the detriment of what the power could be in local politics. If we had more targeted migration issues tackled on a local level, then people would be more empowered to find some sort of solution themselves. Yeah. Yeah. So, at the moment, you're right. There's no power in local politics because councillors can't do anything except fix a couple of potholes. Yeah. But that's again another failure of government over the course of the last 15 years, where they've centralised all power up in Dublin.
And the population here, especially this side of the country, is reducing because you have an influx of 20-year-olds and 30-year-olds now at home, and 40-year-olds that can't get out and get a house and buy a property.
I know all about it myself.
Yeah, of course.
It's a major issue whether they like it or not.
Yeah.
And these things have to be spoken about, and the lack of communication has caused an awful lot of problems.
Well, that's the biggest issue, and that's what I was trying to get through in a lot of my videos, that there's been no communication. It's like it or lump it, and often too late. Yeah. Like no time at all, and that's where I became aware of yourself when you were up in Ballinrobe, and they were trying to put in a centre in Ballinrobe, and you were the local voice at the time, and I noticed that you got an awful lot of hassle.
Yeah, a lot of bullying
for over that, and especially that you weren't the local yourself, and you were from Armagh. You've been. How long have you been in Ballinrobe?
24 years.
24 years. So,
my 15th
and it's not about where you come from.
No.
It's about it's about being shoehorned in to a locality.
Yeah, well, like, it's the afterthought of what we do with people once they land here. It's just like it was this frantic idea of there's so many people applying for international protection that they were just going, well, there's 50 beds in Ballinrobe, stick some there.
Yeah.
And Ballinrobe was location. You know, to have 50 meals beside a creche.
Yeah, it was
It's totally
crazy stuff.
inappropriate.
Yeah,
They can call me whatever they want. Totally inappropriate.
but like
Completely inappropriate.
The same approach would, like, I've no doubt that if there was a halfway house
There is,
for if it was a halfway house for people that were, you know, getting off drugs.
We have one of them
Yeah.
now in Ballinrobe as well.
You know,
which is
like
causing serious trouble.
people need to go somewhere, and obviously, but like it's about doing things with a bit of thought and a bit of nuance.
Yeah.
And there is look, at the end of the day, so you were trying to speak up for your community and trying to have a common sense approach. And then you were obviously getting it from both sides.
Both sides.
You know.
Both sides. You had it from the humanitarian side saying, what's the problem with 50 meals? But the way I was brought up, my dad would have been very selfless. He would have always put a woman and a child first before himself. And my brothers would be the same. You know, if you got onto a bus and you seen a woman and a child, you'd get up and you'd let them sit down. Why is that any different than trying to get them help and get them a home?
Yeah.
And then because people are in the building now, that I have continued to communicate with the businesses in Ballinrobe and the creche next door. They're helping out, they're integrated, the kids go in and get their 99s in the shop, the town's happy enough. And when you have, I don't know what to call them, text me saying you're a traitor and you're this and you're that, and then they create profiles and fake posters on their ex.
So these
That's
are a lot of
Put up your
extreme
kids on
right
it.
wingers that are kind of that have become. Look, let's call it what it is. It's just a racist trope that people shouldn't be coming here from, and kind of banding all people looking for international protection together.
Yeah.
Look, we all know that not everyone's going to be a saint, and we might be in
100%
problems, but like 99% of people are coming here to try and better their lives and better themselves. They wouldn't.
But
Now, there's a lot of them coming in as well that are economic and they're here as opportunists.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
when we-
hard.
But
It's hard.
what's going to happen is, and
Hard
this
to
is
throw
human nature, no
stones
matter
as well.
where you're from. When you 50 men doing nothing all day long,
You're asking for trouble.
you're asking for trouble.
You are,
Yeah, 100%.
And that's not. And then you could go in with the best intentions, but when
And
you're
if-
doing nothing all day long, you'll go off your head.
Yeah, and the thing is, they can't
And you
work.
create your own devilment.
They're legally not allowed to work.
No. Not
Yeah,
for
which-
at least 6 months. And then it's taken up to 2 years process.
If that
course
was
it
the
is,
case,
being Irish.
everyone that wants to come here and work, the visa system goes out the window. If you go, we'll just put them to work.
And I
Because
find
there's,
that-
what's the point in having a visa system if you
Yeah.
just claim asylum and get a job?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, this is going on a long time. Like Simon Harris was addressed when he was the minister in January 23. And now Helen McEntee is. It was put to him on Leaders' Questions. We have a Dublin 3 regulation. Why aren't you doing it? You know, why was only 3 people sent back? The Dublin 3 regulation has been there for us as, I suppose, to put a control. Like every other country you go to, you can't go to Australia, you can't go to America without some sort of visa or telling people where you're going to be, some savings, and are you going to work. That should be no different here.
Even I booked a ticket from my mother to go to Boston, and I brought her up last week. But to get her to get her booking ticket, the amount of information that you have to give just to get the airline ticket to America,
Yeah.
and it should be no different anywhere else.
Yeah, like I suppose what you're saying is that a lot of these people that are seeking migration are coming to Ireland as the last country in Europe they're coming to, because if you look at the numbers from Italy and Greece that take in migrants from the Mediterranean that are crossing, that's their first port of call. They go to Greece and Italy, and Italy and Greece are just letting them on their way because they're bringing in 40,000, 50,000 out of the boats each year. Like, whereas, so you're talking about the certain amount. When it does come to us, then it's hard to argue the thousands that do come here. Now, once they come here, they still have to be treated as people.
They do.
And there is, I think, back 6 months ago, when I think back, that was the part that was almost forgotten.
Yeah.
That they, like, I don't think you had anything against the fact that they're 50 men. They're probably 50 good men looking for a better life.
I think the big problem in the country is people don't know where they're coming from.
Yeah.
And when you take people in from different countries with different cultures and different beliefs,
Yeah.
it creates fear. And
But that fear goes back hundreds of years. Like, Irish people had the exact same things were said about Irish people in New York in the 1800s, or you could say about Italians in the early 1900s.
But Irish people always had a really traditional value. You know, you get married, you settle down, you have your kids, you work. And there's people coming here that haven't worked before. You know, they seen a message from Roderick O'Gorman in all different languages, thinking, great, we're going to come here. Now, I have people contacting me with cancer, they're becoming homeless, they can't get medical cards. This is a real problem. So it does need to be kept, and it needs to be kept now. And Ireland has such a small population. Like, Denmark have only took in about 3,000 to 4,000, whereas we've took in twice the population of Galway. So where are they going to go? They can't go in tents.
That's including the Ukrainians.
We have no doctors, we have no nurses. You know, you look at 700 GPs qualified last year and 400 of them left the country.
Yeah. Well, like, these are all systemic government issues.
Exactly.
It's a failure of government, and that is the problem. I'm sure the Irish are known for being the land of 1,000 welcomes, Kate Míle Fáilte, but we don't have the infrastructure for all these people.
We don't. And
if we did, I'm sure we would gladly take them in if the infrastructures were there, but they're not there.
Yeah.
But like that's also being seized upon by nefarious fractions of really hardline right wingers that are using that as a rod to beat all immigration.
Yeah.
Like there's no easy answer. We're not going to solve it on this podcast. No. Like, at the end of the day, the problem is the government and the way that we're approaching it, and the government has been a colossal failure, because if you look at all the issues that you've raised, migration, housing, healthcare, all systemic issues from the government, they leap from one problem to the next. They leap from a housing issue that's connected to the migration issue. The healthcare issue is connected to homelessness, which is a housing issue. It's madness.
And if you look now at the farming and the fishing, like, the fishing is in such a bad way, it's not even funny. Like, 45% less processing in the ports. Yeah. Now, if you go back to maybe a year ago, there would have been 180 white fish vessels on the coast of Ireland, and over a third of them now, they have decommissioned their boats, and they go with their families and scrapping them to get this EU funding, because Ireland has lost all quotas for fishing. So
have they also lost a big trading partner with the UK?
Yeah, Brexit was desperate. So before Brexit, there would have been about 85% of the Irish Sea being fished by European vessels. Since Brexit happened, there's been a 50% quota drop. So if you take Irish Sea herring, before Brexit, there was a deal there between UK and Ireland. So UK would have got 75%. Ireland would have got 25%. Now Ireland's getting 1%. The crabs, the prawns, the mackerel now, especially around Killybegs and everything. You know, they employ so many people, but a third of them now have been laid off. And fishermen in this country are
because of the quotas.
Yeah,
I heard that.
Ridiculous.
I heard that all the money that we've got from Europe, we've repaid back with the amount of fish through fishing.
And this is one serious fight.
And more,
definitely, and more.
Yeah. So we owe Europe nothing.
No, I don't think there is a. But like, when you look at the alternative to being in Europe and not being in Europe, not being in Europe is not an option. No. Look at Brexit.
Oh, Brexit was a disaster.
Like, it's a colossal
but they've
economic
made it that
disaster.
Way. But they've made it that way.
This is where current MEPs have let Ireland down, because out of the questions that they put before oral questions, there's been none. Not one for agriculture and fishing. And that, I can back that up, my followers will see that. But the likes of France and Spain, they're not meeting their quotas. So as an MEP, you go out there and say, okay, come here, I want you. We're going to fight for the waste of produce that you've been allowed as quotas and give it back to Ireland. You know, there's decisions there that's not rocket science, but because there's no ability to debate something out, which I can see, and I've had first-hand experience now coming up against other MEPs, knowledge is power, education is key, but you have to be able to get your point across. And that's where I come in. And when you see stuff like that, you know, I have a great ability to speak publicly. I have no problem. I don't even break a sweat. But if you don't have MEPs sitting there to get that fight across, like if we lose the fishing industry and the farmers here, the cap's reducing all the time. And if Ukraine and Moldova if you look at it as like a big massive pizza, Ukraine would have the biggest agricultural sector. So if you add them in and the cap's not increased across all of Europe to 2027, then Ireland's going to get further reduced. And the red tape, like there's calendar farming. Farmers can't go out and farm their lands now if they have a few dry days. They're being compared to the rest of the European Union. So there's a lot that people don't actually know, and they need to know, because it's the bread and butter. It's the food that goes on the table. Of course. You know?
Yeah, just anyone that's got any questions for Michelle, do throw them into the chat here. I'll be able to see them. Blonded Sherry says, vote Michelle number 1. Davy Joyce goes, Michelle Smith number 1. And FR Motivation goes, how are things? Things are pretty good, mate.
Okay.
Tell me, what is the most negative thing that you've heard at the doors, or in general?
I suppose I go back to the lack of control and trust that people have. The only issue I have, as very few, is when you're going down the street and you try and give someone a leaflet who don't recognise you, and straight away, no, it's a waste of time, I don't trust politicians, no. And then I will actually go, come here, you know, I'm totally different.
Yeah.
I know what it's like to have to put food on the table and put a roof over our heads. And I'm very in tune with, you know, being a small accountant in the west of Ireland, most of my clients are facing serious problems. I'm doing more debt warehousing schemes for businesses that have been affected by different things. People that I love are becoming homeless. You know, when Dad was sick in 2015, we got home help 3 days before he died.
Too late.
And I was a nurse instead of a daughter for a long time. And you carry that on 9 years later. And was it Limerick, 256 people died in trolleys in the last year? Like, we have serious problems. Like, this is why I have no posters up or no pamphlets through your door. Because other ones are allowed up to €200,000 for their campaign.
Where's that money coming from?
Well, I suppose they have their own wee cliques and memberships and different things. And
Is it any of it taxpayers' money?
there is a fund from the European Parliament, so if they get 25% of the quota, they get back.
They claim it back, yeah.
I paid my own deposit. I could have got 60 signatures, and I said, no, I've never asked anybody for anything in my life, and I don't intend to start. You know.
You said there about knowing, we'll say, day-to-day people's lives and how they're running of it. That's what pissed me off the most, especially over lockdown and we'll say even the immigration problem. It was the lack of empathy and sympathy from the government. Like, even when they get up there and make the speeches, and I've said this on podcasts, I never say it on Instagram or any of them, but I thought Leo Varadkar was going to, and I'm not a Fine Gaeler. I was my persuasion would have been Sinn Féin. I thought this fella knows what he's talking about. As soon as he got into power, all that went again. His empathy just drained, gone.
Like I hate. I've no love for Fine Gael at all. No. And I never liked Leo Varadkar.
Yeah.
And that's what surprised me. Like, look, at the end of the day, they could fill you with bump, but the truth is that they're corporate Democrats. They only reach out to people's base instincts, you know. So, like, they're the same as the Democrat Party in America. They're really kind of right wingers. They don't really give a shit about you.
They don't really understand either.
And they're there to make money.
Yeah.
They're there to, like, look, the Taoiseach at the moment has never had a fucking job.
College.
No, I know.
Like it's embarrassing.
Crazy.
And he's on a power trip now, which is actually quite dangerous.
Yeah.
He's a career politician.
He
Career
is.
politician.
Like literally, I know I've done a few videos. Actually, since I made the videos about him, my page has got restricted completely.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking to myself, he might have some handle on. But
No, they've
it's
lost
mental.
all-
37-year-old TikToker leading the country.
Yeah. That's exactly it. Hey, there's a chance for you, yes?
Yeah, I know. You never know.
But if you put someone into a government position that have been reared on a silver spoon, they literally have no empathy. They're out of touch.
That's my point. Even
No.
for
Yeah.
example, Sunak in London.
But he's way worse.
Yeah.
I mean,
he's
he's a wealth of 640 million.
Yeah.
Why would you bother? Like, what good?
Power corrupts.
Yeah. Like, unless you're in there to make decisions to suit yourself and your type.
Like, I done a video yesterday. It was one of the old ones, and it was about naming and shaming the TDs and the senators that are landlords.
Yeah.
So when you went back to COVID, and they lifted the eviction ban and they allowed rent increases. The rent increases in Mayo in the last year went up 13%, same in Donegal, and this is just in the last year.
Yeah.
This is why this has happened. So if you have Michael Healy-Rae down in Kerry making over $1 million now in an iPass centre that has allowed eviction bans to happen and increased rents, that's a conflict of interest.
Of course
whether
it
they
is.
like or
And I'm
not.
disappointed in that because I actually
Yeah.
had time for the Healy Res.
Yeah.
But like,
No, he
again,
is. He has.
But like, why? But like, again, where do you think their money came from?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Their money is corrupt because they're in power.
Yeah.
Like you can't have loads of houses and then vote against your own interests in
Exactly.
some sort of rent
You should
control.
be out of that room
Yeah.
and excluded from
It's
any
shocking,
vote.
like, and I'm not saying that people can't have a business interest, but if
Yeah.
you're going to work, if you're going to work on behalf of the people, you can't be you can't be making as much money as possible inside. They're contradicting influences.
Yeah, conflict of interest.
and
completely.
It is. Yeah.
it goes back like if you look at where a lot of these migration problems stem from, it's from European countries like France, basically strategically making a mess of Mali.
Yeah.
Mali's people are flooding out of the country, major refugee crisis there, and then where do they go? They go to Nigeria, they go to Ghana. Where do they want to go? Where do Nigerians go from there?
But
They
if
go
you
to
go
Ireland.
back to primary school time, we all would have had a choker box. Like, Irish people have always been so given. Even
Yeah,
if they had
1,000%.
their last tenner, they'd give it away. I'd be like that too. But it's not our problem to fix the rest of the world.
But like the
You know,
problems,
it's not-
the problems are starting in Europe. These wars, the wars that are here now, like you look at
It's greed.
Ukraine,
Yeah.
NATO's expansion into Ukraine is one of the triggers,
Yeah.
if not a major reason why
Yeah.
there's a major reason why Russia went to war in Ukraine,
Yeah. No.
because their
it's
expansion
greed.
in there. So, or look at Ukraine and Gaza. Gaza at the moment, like 21 people died in Rafah last night in the
Yeah.
first
And
the ground
kids.
assaults.
Like, Jesus.
It's
Yeah.
shocking.
I mean,
And it's all nonsense because like who's funding that?
That's-
Germany,
Exactly. You
the
follow
UK,
the money.
but there's a group as well online that are basically saying Palestine deserve what they're getting, which is
Yeah, but
absolutely crazy. I mean, you can support Palestine without being pro-terrorist or pro-Hamas
Yeah.
or anti-Israeli. I mean, at the end of the day, we're pro-humanity.
Yeah.
yeah, like
That's the main thing.
the groups online, like, and look, Americans are more pro-Israel than any other country.
Yeah.
There's more Jews living there
Yeah.
for a start, and there's lots of Jews that are against what's happening. Look, at the end of the day, what's happening in Rafah at the moment, like, it's just a killing field. They're going to be slaughtered.
And it's
by
follow the
Israelis.
greed. Like,
And America could stop it today.
yeah, they could.
They could
And
stop it immediately.
When I say Simon Harris is on a power trip, himself and Micheál Martin and Eamon Ryan to stand on 3 podiums and say we're recognising Palestine, that's great. But we have 2 Navy ships parked up in Cove that are completely empty. So if we get any sort of attack from that, we're wiped out. We have no defense.
We have no defense.
We've none.
We have no defense against Israel anyway. They have
None.
nukes. We have fucking
Ireland peacekeeping neutral.
Spades, shovels.
Yeah. Now, why didn't
We have a
they
good spirit though.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
we would keep going.
Why didn't they do a
We'll
whole
start
thing
walking
to
to
bring in
Israel.
the kids from there? And where was their help?
Yeah.
When you see in Ukraine, Kyiv, there's more restaurants opening, more bars, more cafes. Their GDP has went up. We could have supplied porta cabins over there, and we could have done a lot more.
Yeah,
for
well,
Palestine,
that
the
was it.
people in
What makes the Ukraine different to what's going on in Gaza? Like, it's just it should be the same for both.
Should.
The one thing is that Israel's offense on Gaza is on a civilian population and is basically collective punishment, which is a war crime. Like, you could say that Russia's attack on Ukraine isn't that.
Yeah.
It's not like Gaza is one of the most densely populated places in the world. And it's one of the youngest populations in the world. They are inevitably going to kill children.
Yeah.
That's what it is. And
it is. It's crazy.
and it's like, but it also stems from the fact that these European powers, they make so much money off munitions.
That's
And
the guns.
Ireland,
Is it an issue at the doors?
It is.
Palestine?
This was not to me at the moment. It hasn't come up. It genuinely hasn't come up. It did come up in the Galway movement. A representative come up and said, "How do we stand?" And I'm always open and honest with this. I do believe that if you're going to help Ukraine, you should be helping another country the same. We're all human. It's not rocket science. But for Ireland to give away that bit of neutrality without thinking, oh, how long, if they retaliate, and then they're already on about the technical side of things and investment.
Yeah,
here,
I think being devil's advocate here, I think that what they've done is in the interest of the Irish people, because the Irish people, and they had to look for statehood themselves. Palestine are trying to do the exact same thing, and for us to recognize them as a state is basically going back to the days of where the song "The Foggy Jew" came from.
Yeah.
We
But
had to go
surely
through the
decisions
same.
like that should be done with MEPs, etc., in European Parliament with a lot of other countries instead of just singling out three.
Yeah, I think
Norway and Ireland are
they-
tiny.
Yeah, well, they have a very significant voice, and I think the reason the government did that, and the Spanish government, the Norwegian government, like, look, Norway hosted the Oslo Accords. Yeah. They've been a significant player in trying to get peace in the Middle East, so they have a very significant say in this, So I think Ireland have I'd love, look, Simon Harris is a joke, but he's done the right thing.
Yeah, probably
here, even if he is just the face of it.
Yeah.
Because it's what the Irish people want.
Yeah. At the end of the day, what's going on out there is there's an agenda it's all about money. It's ammunitions, and it's all about getting to the oil.
100%.
And anyone that says any different is completely blinded.
A question was put to me in a debate: would you support Ursula in the next commission? Absolutely not. No way. And it was put to Maria Walsh. Yes.
Yeah.
And
she said that on Upfront with Kate Ann as well.
We're human, and I want to see them kids. You see them yesterday in tents outside, and then last night you're told they're dead.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's so wrong.
And anyone that says that Palestine is getting what they deserve because of the October 7th?
Yeah, right.
Right. Well, then if that was the case, then when the IRA were letting off bombs in Northern Ireland,
Where was our help?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does that mean that the British should have went in and killed all the Irish, the Catholics? It's the exact same thing.
It's basically saying that the Bloody Sunday murders by the British paratroopers, they were justified. That's basically what you're trying. You're on the side of the empire there.
There's a plan that it's a global policy for 2030, and it's to integrate most of the world and to end poverty, bring in world peace. It's not a beauty pageant. It's never going to work, because that's in 6 years' time. And this is where Roderick O'Gorman comes up and says we need to increase the population of Ireland to 10 million. That's okay, but Irish people are very traditional in their values, and when
exactly.
You see
I mean, they
tourists coming
don't
here,
they don't know the people on the ground.
No, but it's lack of communication. This legislation was drawn up in 2015, and the MEPs knew about it and did not communicate. And this is why I think, in my humble opinion, that the Dublin 3 regulation hasn't been implemented, because there is a global plan. And yes, we all want to end world peace. We want everybody to have food on the table. But Irish people now...
That could be done tomorrow.
Yeah.
If they want to. There's enough food produced in the world
everywhere
to feed everyone 3 times over.
And you look at Ireland now, the beef being exported in from Argentina.
Yeah.
And the Greens going, yes, let's
crazy.
do this. But some of the Amazon now is being completely wiped out to regrow grass for these cows. And it's lack of common
But we don't need to import beef.
Not at
We
all.
don't.
There's
we
no
don't
reason
want
we
to.
should be
Not at all.
importing beef.
Irish
Substandard beef.
Yeah.
Irish people do not want.
And once
imported
Europe's
beef.
answers, kill the suckler cows here. Like, I stood up in the Irish farmers thing and I was like, but farming is a way of life in Ireland, the same as fishermen is.
I can
And we're
guarantee
letting
you,
them fold in front of
when
us.
the bust happened, especially in rural Ireland, when the bust happened, it wasn't farmers
Not at all.
or working people. It was people in suits that made it happen.
Yeah.
And I can guarantee you that it was farmers that made, for rural Ireland,
Yeah.
always paid their way, always kept the local economy going. It's farmers that, as soon as they get their payments out, they reinvest it in, for construction,
like what we've
for
done-
sheds, for houses, for everything.
But what we've done, we've gone back to Irish farmers completely rely on
EU
the
funding.
subsidies from
Okay.
Europe.
Yeah, they do.
They don't get a fair price for their herd.
But remember as well, we've paid for them through other ways ourselves. It's just recycling money.
Yeah.
And if you look, there's some male farmers I know now that are going to have to put all their cows down the next few days.
It's
'cause
been
of
a
TB.
horrendous. It's been a horrendous year for farming anyway.
Desperate.
Shock.
So you bring
The
the
weather
into
wise,
it.
I know.
Yeah.
I know that. Like,
It's like the gods have turned against farmers.
Yeah, it has.
but it has
it's
been
unfair.
like, I'll be honest, right? If you want, like, look, lots of people don't believe in climate change, and they might believe, but like, if the proof is there that the weather has become more extreme, there's more rain, there's more dry spells. Now, we haven't seen a dry spell in a long time.
No,
We could do with a
and
dry
get your
spell.
lawns cut.
Yeah, but it is horrendous, the amount of rain, and that means that the farmers are going to be really negatively affected, which means that more people are going to get out of farming, which means more corporations are going to come into it.
Yeah. But if farming folds in this country now, we're in serious
That's
trouble.
what they
serious
wanted.
trouble.
I was told
Yeah,
that
they do.
I remember hearing that in national school, that they don't want small farmers anymore.
No.
They want big farms.
That was in
corporation.
national school.
Yeah.
Like, I have farmers on my books and none of them are making money. And
Well, look
the
at
aging population
this.
is a big
America's small farming doesn't exist anymore.
No.
It's a patchwork of major corporations controlling the supply chains.
Yeah.
But as you said, Michelle, farming is a way in rural Ireland. It's a way of life. It's where lads, and there's women in farming as well, but obviously it's a majority of men. They get together at the marts. It's good for their mental health. They're checking in with each other. They're working for each other. It's like a YMCA group. In a it was just a way of life for people, and it transcended into the towns and everything like that. And it's just been eroded.
But you
And
see the
farmers are
price of
angry, like-
feed, fertilizer.
Feed, fertilizer, yeah.
Well, feed has dropped a wee bit, but the milk price is now since 2022.
Yeah.
And this is all coming from, the war in Ukraine. Inflation levels in Europe are at a high.
Yeah.
They're after giving them duty-free trade for another year. So the prices are going to continue to rise here. So the input is going to exceed the output. And when you see the farmers just trying to make ends meet, and now they're being met with not being able to go out and farm their land because of the red tape that has come in. They're blaming them for climate change here and the water and the nitrates.
Yeah,
Ireland has
they get the
third
brunt
cleanest
of
water in
blame,
Europe.
which is ridiculous. Like,
They're
What's that?
getting, it's ridiculous.
the farmers are getting blamed for climate
It's
change. It's
nonsense.
fucking insane.
Absolutely nonsense.
No
Like,
green person should be sitting in the Dáil, or we all know that climate change is happening.
well, if hopefully in the next general election we won't have to deal with it.
Yeah, but you
Everyone
see,
knows my stance on the
Yeah.
Green Party.
But you see where the Green Party candidates come from. They're from leafy South Dublin suburbs.
Yeah.
They've never
Never milked
seen
a cow in their lives.
No.
Never seen a cow.
Never
No.
milked a bull in their lives.
Don't know what it's like to do a section and see it all coming out in front of you and you're going, whoa.
And they'll get eviscerated at the next general
I
election
think so, yeah.
because as usual, they're the minority party there. They've in reality very little power.
Yeah.
But they have a certain amount of power.
But they've
that's
enough.
concentrated.
They've enough to hold the government.
But they also have enough to hold the government together and enough to break it. But they also make stupid comments.
Oh my God.
They just
I was at a
stupid.
debate the other evening in Galway, and the lady representative, I'll not say names because it's not fair, they're not here to defend themselves. And she said, "Sorry, I'm late. I was charging my car." And I was like, "This is way too easy for me now. I don't even have to speak
Yeah.
like that."
Yeah.
You know.
But that's an excuse.
Well,
It's-
the thing.
the best thing to do, don't have a stupid car.
Yeah. Well, another thing is that's all right in saying that, but when you're getting on electric cars, we'll say your kids are waiting at school and your car isn't charged up. That's just an example.
Yeah.
Or your teenager is stuck in the middle of town.
Can I just say,
Three
it's bad enough.
Yeah.
He's bad enough with diesel. Never mind,
Oh, yeah.
fuck electric.
We've had stories.
Twice in a week, he fucking
Yeah,
ran out of diesel.
Once on our way to a show
I got a
that we were already late for.
I got a message.
So imagine you with an electric
PHEV
car.
yoke. I bought it in Galway and it's 3 weeks. And I said, if you do not take this back, I swear to God, I'm burning it on your street.
Yeah.
Take it back. 14 kilometres I got out of a full charge, and you're charging the thing all night.
Yeah.
And then the smell of burning rubber. And Mum has a hybrid, and it was -3, -4. And I had to drive all the way to Thurles. She was parked up outside her house, and I had to jump the car, the battery in the back seat, and earth it off the door. And I said, if anybody walks past now, boom.
Yeah. Like, look, they to be honest, there's something that will eventually get there. They'll be rechargeable off. They'll be all hybrid.
They need
They'll
infrastructure.
have
Again, no infrastructure.
The
Trying to bulldoze something through that there's no infrastructure there. But it's a
But
common
they-
theme with this government.
Well,
Aren't
they
taking
they
these
have the
training.
infrastructure there, as in they have petrol stations. But
Uh,
they
yeah,
have it,
you
but
drive-
There's no charge.
But they have no
there's
charges
charging
at the
ports.
two.
Yeah.
So
if you go from, say, Tuam to Cork,
yeah.
there is nowhere to pull in until you get.
But sure, no one has that time
Sorry,
anyway.
that's
You don't have an hour
they're
to
too
wait on the way down. Oh, I'll have to wait here for 2. No one lives like that anymore.
No, there's no
It'd be
one
like
has
the
an hour to
Flintstones.
kill.
But one thing before we close off, there is a tension, especially in Dublin. We'll say there is a massive tension with what's happening with the immigrants coming in and whatnot. Even today, there was an attack outside the same school that there was 6 months ago. That
Hotels being burnt down. They're
Yeah.
going to house immigrants.
yeah, but the thing is, a lot of the media pages and the news and everything like that, it was, and he was Irish. You know, straight. It doesn't matter if he's Irish. It doesn't matter if the thing is, there was an attack outside a school. Now I know no one was hurt,
Yeah.
but there was kids traumatized, and they're using these kids as a political football. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter if they're Irish, Israeli, Palestinian, fucking
I think,
Ukrainian.
but at the end of the day, people are getting radicalized from all sorts of directions. So that fellow was radicalized by I don't know. He was Islamic or whatever, right? So
the fella today.
No,
That's what I mean.
the
They're-
fellow from 6 months.
Oh
ago.
yeah.
They're trying to integrate different
So-
cultures and different communities in
And
here on a
but
rapid
that
pace.
it's not central government that integrates anything.
Yeah.
It's
It's
local people.
communities.
Local
And
communities integrate
you've
people.
hit the nail on the head.
And if we take the power out of local communities to do this, then this is what we get.
Yeah.
Like-
You have kids being escorted past schools in Dublin now by guards in the morning. That's
Yeah.
wrong.
Yeah,
It should not happen.
That reminds you of the
And that's
troubles in the
government's
north.
fault. Yeah,
That's
it
just
does.
a reminder of the troubles
Yeah.
in the north, and we don't want history repeating itself. with
And
that.
there's a lot of rogue agents in this country using this as fuel,
They are.
and they're using the online stuff,
I've seen that
especially.
firsthand.
You got like a lot of threats
Lots.
for
And
being.
still online bullying, going, she's a plant and she's a traitor. And no, I am a mum. I'm a businesswoman, and I can see the bigger picture. And when you take all the resources out of the country and all the young people, like my son's 21, he's 22 on Monday, Do I want him to leave? No, he can't wait to get out because he can't get his own rent. He'll never be able to buy a house here. And this is the thinking. I had 5 of his friends after the Ballinrobe races last night. They sat round the table. Michelle, tell me why we should stay here. I said, I can't give you a reason to stay because we have no resources. We have no houses. So if you think 30,000 houses were built last year and 9% of them were built outside of Dublin, but you take 60% of them sold to vulture funds, you have 1,000 houses built for such a large population.
But
and the thing is, for anyone that's watching
And
this
Fianna Fáil,
outside
the
of
Greens, they're
Ireland,
all in Sinn Féin, no opposition. For
we
a
have
long
no
time.
opposition.
No.
That's
But
another.
like,
That's for
being
another time.
being in
They
opposition
voted
is no
bloody
power.
yes. You know, they got the referendum so wrong.
They
So
got,
wrong.
So wrong.
They got that wrong, right? And that's
And the
that's
hate
fair
speech
enough.
bill as well.
And unbelievably, like not just a little bit wrong, they all got it completely wrong.
Yeah, that they got that wrong. But like, and I'm not a part of Sinn Féin. I'm not particularly Sinn Féin supporter. But like, part of me is like, it's very easy to point fingers at the opposition party when they actually have no power. All they are is a mouthpiece. Like, the power is with Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael. We haven't changed from a Fianna Fáil or Fine Gael in 100 years, and we've been recycling the same things in. And until that changes, we're going to get the same.
Yeah, and that's another thing.
Going to happen with Sinn Féin, because if you look at their policies, they're completely forgot about the whole grassroots program in this country. Like, I was a Sinn Féin member for a long time, but I never really went to meetings. We paid our tenner and we got our card, and we were rooting for them for such a long time. Now,
likewise,
come near my door, go away, because when you're meant to be in opposition and you go around and you canvass for yes, and the moment the cameras are putting them, oh, it's the wording. It's not. You knew about the global plan, the intimate citizenship. You decided not to tell anybody about it. Like, to remove mother from the Constitution, and then for them go, oh, well, you know, we got it wrong. Yes, but you're meant to be in opposition for the people, and you completely turned your back. And this is a big problem on the doors. Big problem.
That's a problem that they'll have to
They're going to have to build up.
I think they've done an awful lot of damage to them.
But what you, at the end of the day, someone's going to be in power.
Yeah.
And so at the end, like, it won't be a club of independents. I guarantee you that.
Yeah.
Because that would just fall apart. The first hurdle.
When it comes to general election time, I'm one of these ones that looks away at the bigger picture. Probably like yourself, bigger picture. I think the first general election will probably be a bit of a flop because they won't be able to form a government because there's so much
But that's what
hate
the
on the
last
door.
one was.
Yeah.
And they've been going
go
But
again.
there's also that
5 years.
still that civil war politics where it's either Fine Gael or Fianna Fáil.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and until that goes, we won't have any opposition.
No. And we'll
like
be
the
having
Social
the same
Democrats
conversation.
will probably band together with Sinn Féin, which will pull them more left,
Yeah.
which mightn't be a bad thing. I think you need a bigger divide in Sinn Féin and the left-leaning parties, Labour or whatever. And maybe that would be better for the country. It would probably lead to more spending on the HSE. It would probably lead to more legislation around housing, and it might empower some of the county councils to build more housing.
Well, if you look in the country, right, there's 256,000 government-owned houses. We have about 30,000 people homeless.
It's insane.
You know, it's a ding-ding moment. Give the county councils the money
The
to buy
county
them.
councils are the key to building.
And
Another thing is, we like that as well. Not just the houses, but we have so many abandoned buildings, hotels, community centres.
So we were talking about this on multiple
crazy.
podcasts. If you look out the front window there onto the top of shop fronts, they're all, every town is just decayed, derelict, old building. And if you repurpose and reuse those buildings, then you'll guaranteed vibrancy in each town. You'll see more shops, you'll see more commerce, you'll see more money, but because people will be in town, it'll be a better place to be.
Can you imagine if they actually funded the infrastructure and the railway lines?
100%.
How much jobs and houses and repopulation of Irish people that will actually happen?
Yeah.
It's just, there's nothing between their ears.
But like, no, there is. At the end of the day, it's greed.
It's greed.
the Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil are awash with self-interest.
Yeah.
Self-interest, and that's what pisses me off the most.
I know Chambers are like this running against me. There was videos coming up. The trust is gone, especially with the referendum recently, going canvassing for a yes and voting no herself, and then going into the Dáil and pressing a button for TDs that weren't there. Like, how are you meant to trust anyone that's running in parties anymore? Now, for Europe, it's very important not to send a party to Europe, because you're already under this wee whip policies, and then you're aligning with another one.
Yeah.
But for here, how is people meant to trust when you have someone publicly saying that as well? You know, and Luke Bing Flanagan there looking at 100% conversions, and I do be sitting at debates going, what is going on? Where has the common sense gone and the heart of the love of the people in this country gone? You know, should be Ireland first. Then, yes, we're delighted to be Europeans as well. But Irish people, the people in here, and that means other nationalities here that are working here and contributing, bringing their kids up. Everybody in this country should come first, in my eyes, straight away. Yeah. Let's fix the problems here first
100%.
Before we worry about the rest of the world. And, you know, when you look at the lack of funding that we've had for especially this side of the country, like, there's so much that can be done. And even for climate change, you know, you have aquaphonics to bring in stuff like that without putting in wind turbines on the sea. And our innovations are there. We have the smartest youth coming through education. And if they were given maybe an incentive to live 2 or 3 years tax-free after their degrees, that would help them afford homes, it's a game changer. But you just need people there with ideas and with a bit of passion and a bit of fire in their heart. So, yeah.
Michelle, we won't keep you much longer. What is, if you get into Europe, what is the number one thing that you'll be looking for?
The number one thing I'll be looking for is to align with the same minded people as me. And I will be very vocal when it comes to agriculture and aquaculture, because I think it's a core industries here that we need to protect. And then my next one would be the infrastructure, to try and get that funding that we should be having the same pieces of pie of everybody else, you know. And I think if we think about realistically what can be done from MEP levels, I'm sure other European countries will recognise that Ireland have been left behind. It's just going to take a lot of fight. I am a bit concerned with the other MEPs that are running, because we have to work together and we have to be on the same page. And they have to recognise that it is not all sunflowers, rainbows and lollipops. We all want equality, we all want the same things. But we have to bring this country on like everywhere else and everybody else first. That would be my core values. And there's other people with different, I suppose, areas of expertise. Mine would be finance and looking at the bigger picture, and being a businesswoman, an award-winning businesswoman. I just know how to get a job done. And I know how to communicate with people, and I know how to bring businesses on. So if I can bring a business on and grow it, I should be able to bring the rest of the country on with me as well. So. Very
good, Michelle. Well, thank you very much for jumping on today. Where can people find you?
You'd find me on TikTok, Michelle Smith, on Instagram, on Facebook, and you'll see me out in the road.
Excellent.
It's the van.
Right. Thank you so much, Michelle, and the best of luck on June the 7th as well. So, guys, thank you so much for watching, and yeah, it's been absolutely brilliant.
Interesting, yeah.
Very interesting, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel as well. And if you see Michelle on the street, don't be afraid to come over and have a chat with her.
Register to vote.
Register to vote, yeah, 100%.
It's your civil right. Do it.
Right, guys, till the next time, stay safe, stay healthy.
And stay away from yourself.
Good luck.